Welcome back to CHGO Bears After Dark. Excited to get this going back on a Monday night. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. Alongside me is my guy, Corey Wootton. And joining us here for the start of the show is Jake Flanagan here on, Steamy. It's been pretty hot today here on this Monday night.
I got my best summer shirt. It reminds me of that one you always wore to Super Bowl and Indy, Braggs.
Yes. We're what do you think? You think that's some style and profile in there, Corey? What do you think of the shirt?
Yeah, I think it looks better on Jake than it would on you. So.
Well, I actually have a nice red and pink one that is very similar that I wear literally everywhere. So yes.
As fancy as I get. This is it for me. This is about as fancy as I get.
We got good taste there, Jake. And Alex Flores in the chat saying 79th and Halas crossover special, baby. That's right. Scott Lewis from the Barber's Chair Network is going to be joining us here in just a little bit to give his insight on what he's seen at practice here at Halas Hall, get his thoughts a little bit on Hard Knocks. But I did want to start with you guys before we got to Scott and kind of set the table. And I'll start with you, Jake, and then we'll move our way over to Corey. Jake, in terms of Hard Knocks, is this something you're embracing here? Because, I know a lot of people are not a lot of people, but there is a segment of fans that didn't want the distraction. But now that it's here, it seems like most Bears fans are getting on board with some of the hype train that is Hard Knocks coming to Chicago.
Yeah, I'm psyched for this, and like I said, I'm not in the business of trying to control what happens with the Bears anymore. I just want to enjoy it. I'm going to sit back and relax and enjoy this year one with Caleb Williams and everything that comes with that. And I think that's what this will be. Hard Knocks will be the way to document the first year and what this storybook will be for the next decade. And I look forward to that. There's no better thing. And I mean, you look back at that Baltimore Ravens team the year they won the Super Bowl. That was there. Shannon Sharp, Ray Lewis, all those guys, Siragusa, the clown, but also just an awesome football player too. And just having that for them, I'm sure is something that they always appreciated, the ability to go back and look at. And now the Bears and Bears fans will have that.
How about you, Corey? I mean, refresh my memory. I know you weren't big on the 18-game schedule. We talked about that, but I'm pretty sure I remember you saying you did not want the Bears to have Hard Knocks. Is that correct?
I can't remember what my thoughts are. I know we talked about it a few times.
Yeah, now that we're there, I mean, you're
well, I
good
was
on
saying
it.
I didn't think they would do it. I didn't think they would do it just because of how they've been in the past. But I think it's a good situation, especially with all the storylines, new regime in here, new quarterback in town, probably the hottest prospect to come out since Andrew Luck. Everyone wants to see how he does in training camp, how he evolves, how he comes together with arguably one of the best wide receiver core in the or trio in the NFL. I think everybody wants to see that progress, how he progresses as a leader, how this team comes together as a whole. And I think when Detroit was on there, they gained a lot of fans just from seeing them and Dan Campbell and company and the camaraderie that they were. So Hard Knocks, I think, is the best football or sports show, rather, that this shows an inside look of, what it's like being a player, what it's like being on the chopping block potentially. I thought those interviews, especially when guys get cut, you feel for them because you never want to be in that situation. And it's an awesome thing to have just in general, just as a Bears fan and a football fan, just to see an inside look of what goes on and, how this team is going to come together and hopefully have a productive and great season. So I'm all for it. And I think this will be good. I think all the one thing, it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing, right? Because there's so much hype with Caleb and company. I just hope there's not too much pressure on the situation. Everyone expects him to just be, a top 5 quarterback day one. That let's just pump the brakes and let's just see how he progresses. That's all I want, because I heard Carm talking with Nick, and was it you, or it might have been somebody else about
it was Herb Howard.
How you saying how Caleb Williams is the best player on the team, and I think we could all agree right now he hasn't played a game. So we're hoping that he could be, but there's a lot of great players, and I think that's unrealistic to put that expectation on him to be the best player on the team day one, right? We can all agree with that.
I don't think it should be the expectation, but I won't put a cap on it. Like he can't. Like I think he has every opportunity to be, but he has to earn that. There's no question about it. In that regard, like you're talking about, and this is something I wanted to ask Scott, because like the talk of the sports world right now is Caitlin Clark, and what's going on with the WNBA and her little rivalry with Angel Reese that's spilled over from college to the pros. And, it definitely seems like, there is some animosity. I don't know if there's a better word for it. Some chippiness towards Caitlin, because they're like, hey, she's the golden goose. Everybody loves her. So the, competitors, on the other side of the court want to show them what they're capable of. And, I think a lot of that just stems from nothing that Caitlin did herself, but just the attention that she gets publicly. And so, in that regard, when you mentioned Caleb Williams and Hard Knocks and whether this could be a good thing or a bad thing, like, does this put a bigger bullseye on the Bears that they're, they get this Hard Knocks, they're getting all this publicity. He'll probably start to get endorsement deals and show up on commercials before he's ever played it down.
I think that was going to happen anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I think the Caitlin Clark situation is different because we've always had talented players come in this league with a lot of hype and a lot of expectations. But the WNBA has never seen anyone like Caitlin Clark. Just what she did for women's basketball the past 2 years, she put them on the map. Now every time we turn on ESPN, what do we see? A WNBA game, right? My wife played in the WNBA. She played overseas. A lot of her friends and people we know played in WNBA for a while. They've never had this type of fan support. Now, we're not just talking about the Indiana Fever, but we're talking about every team across the board. So it's been cool to see. But I think with Caitlin Clark, I think people were salty because she's commanding the type of money that no one has ever had. Now, in the NFL, it's just who's the next biggest star, right? I don't think anyone can argue that once your time is, you're going to get paid. But I think no player, Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, nobody has brought the attention and commanded the type of paycheck that Caitlin Clark is getting, like Gatorade deals, Nike deals.
Right.
So I think they're hating on that, and that's what you see right there. Literally, a girl shot a free throw, and then all of a sudden went to cover, and she still had one more free throw left. So they're putting a bullseye. But I think in general, anytime you got a rookie quarterback, like playing defensive line, anytime we went against a young rookie guy, Blaine Gabbert, when we played against him in 2012, that was his second year. We wanted to get after him. Like anytime you have a young guy, you want to try to fluster him. You want to try to get after him. So I think with all the hype with Caleb, I think opposing defense, their goal is to fluster him and make him look bad. And I think that just comes with the expectation. Like last year when C.J. Stroud was playing and Bryce Young, they were trying to do the same thing. Obviously, C.J. Stroud did a lot better than Bryce Young. But anytime you got the young quarterback, the young pup, you want to try to make him look bad.
Well, and Eric Beauchamp in the chat's bringing up a great point. He says Darnell Wright and Tevin Jenkins will not allow people to take cheap shots at Caleb without a response. And that's going to be vital because, like you mentioned, some of the rookies last year, I mean, they did this with Justin Fields, and they continue to do it because the officiating and the Bears at times allowed it. And when you talk, about the Caitlin Clark stuff that's dominating the conversation, I think the biggest valid criticism is that her own teammates didn't have her back. Okay. And that's paramount. Go ahead, Jake.
No, but like I talked about this with Herb Lawrence on Tavern Style earlier today. Here's my take on that. If you looked at the situation, if you're watching the game, it was an inbounds play, I think after a made basket or something like that. So like all of her teammates were at the other end of the floor. Like she was just getting the inbounds pass. Right. What were they going to do? Run 50 feet down?
You got to Bobby Knight it and throw a chair at somebody.
I don't know. Here's my other thing is that Kennedy Carter was the best player on the floor in that game. If you watch that game, scoring, facilitating, and defensively, she's bringing it. And what do you do? Just like Woot said, it may not be at the NFL level, but like all of us played sports growing up. And when you have some person that's supposed to be the best player on the other team, you want to show them like, hey, are you really that good? Like, no, and especially when they're like younger or you're like, you got to earn it. Like, and so I think that's just, I like it because this is what sports is all about since the beginning of time, men's sports, women's sports, whatever. And if people just look at it through that lens instead of the whole race thing or the other part of it, then like, and they can appreciate what the Aces have done the last few years, and what the Houston Comets did 20 years ago with Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper, and what Teaspoon did when she was a player and now a coach. If everyone realizes it was all a journey to get to this point, and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and others helped take it over the top, then it's fine. And like, I get fired up about it because, this is I think it's a big moment right now in all sports, and it's cool to see them lead, Sports Center and everything else with this topic. And we're talking about on a Bears show right now in the middle of the offseason.
Well, it's the summertime, so I mean, it's where we're at right now. But I thought that was well said. We're gonna
Braggs. One thing though, the one thing about the Caitlin Clark situation, stuff happens, man. I mean, we grew up in an era, all of us, where the '90s basketball was king, right? Indiana Pacers versus the New York Knicks versus the Bulls. Scottie Pippen dunked over Patrick Ewing and absolutely destroyed him and pushed him over. Like, that was the type of era. Like, people didn't think twice about that. They were like, hey, you got to retaliate the next time you go down. The only problem I have with what the game has become nowadays, even in the NBA, people are soft. I believe that fully in my heart. If somebody does a cheap shot on your player, you have to have their back. Whether it's women's basketball, men's basketball, you don't see enough of that nowadays. You have to set the tone. And I really believe that in any sport. The 90s were heavy on that, and they're trying to make an effort to make things better and some of that. But there was some consequences if you went up and fouled the player hard. And I think there are no consequences nowadays, and people don't worry about that. So, Caitlin Clark, her teammates got to have her back. If somebody's over there chirping at her and push her over, you got to go over there and push her back, right? Whether or not it goes into a full-on brawl. It's just like when Justin Fields is getting late hit, Tevin Jenkins go over there and absolutely tries to destroy the guy and say, hey, that ain't happening again. You just have to set the tone in any sport, I believe.
Yes, sir. And we're setting the tone here at CHGO Bears After Dark. Want to thank Jake Flanagan once again for jumping in here tonight and having a little fun here to start the show. We're going to be bringing on Scott Lewis here from Barber's Chair Network and 79th in the Halas in just a moment. So, Jake, we'll see you here in a little bit. Have a good night. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you tomorrow at the office.
Later,
bud. So that is Jake Flanagan, and we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get over to some more football talk here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Want to give a shout out here to Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. For the week of June 2nd, Prize Picks is offering a free square for Jason Tatum to score 1 point for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Users must add the square to their lineup before timer ends. So get in on this ASAP. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has you covered every week, from lowering select players' stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. They're as good as it gets. So download the app today and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Another one that I want to give a shout out over to is Illinois Pork Producers. Those guys are really great, and we appreciate them hopping on board here tonight. And it is grilling season, so get your pork. People are active, need more protein than the average American. In fact, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and Dietitians of Canada and American College of Sports Medicine recommend 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day for athletes like myself. depending on the training. 1 3-ounce serving of pork provides 23 grams of high-quality protein that can help active individuals build and preserve muscle. The International Society of Sports Nutrition recommends that people who are involved in a general fitness program or who are interested in optimizing their health eat low-fat, high-quality sources of protein, which include lean cuts of pork. So elevate your protein game with lean pork, a powerhouse of natural goodness. Savor the flavors, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. From your sausage and bacon for breakfast to pulled pork or juicy chops hot off the grill, it's an entire season dedicated to pork and the people behind the product, paid for by the Illinois pork producers. Generations of commitment. All right. Moving this thing along here on CHGO Bears After Dark. And joining us for the first time here on our CHGO Bears airwaves is my guy, Scott Lewis from 79th Halas and Barber's Chair Network. Scott, Corey, Scott.
What's up, Scott? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Good to holler at you, man. I'm a fan of everything y'all do here on this show. Braggs, you know I watch y'all stuff. I watch everything CHGO. So it's a pleasure and honor to be on here joining y'all tonight. So,
well, hey, we appreciate you coming on, especially on short notice. I hit you up this morning, and I know you're getting ready for minicamp, so I'm sure you've got a ton of work to do. You're doing a lot of fun stuff on your end too on Barber's Chair Network. Obviously, like we were talking about earlier, all hell's broken loose in the WNBA. You got we're all waiting on the NBA Finals for Game 1 to finally get here on Thursday. I know you're excited for that as well. So hey, we're getting through the summer as best we can. Yeah. And it's peaceful on the NFL front, as minicamps was tweeting out.
Yeah, I just wrapped up doing my show. I'm Not Gonna Hold You, which I do every Monday and Fridays. And we had a nice about 35-minute WNBA segment. We had the homie Shakia Taylor on from the Chicago Tribune.
She's great.
Had a great conversation about that, and then we went to NBA Finals predictions, talked about a little bit of that, and we also did some Hard Knocks talk for the Bears, man. So yeah, I'll be up there tomorrow and Thursday for minicamp. So I'm excited, man. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to, I'm a big summer guy, but I'm kind of ready for the summer to wrap up so we can get to this.
I'm saying, I mean, what is it, 46 or 47 days until the first day of camp?
Yeah. Yeah, we got a couple about 5-6 weeks left. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the time where you get excited about minicamp and OTAs, but you know that's kind of like what they call the underwear Olympics. There's nothing that really happens when you don't have the pads on. So that's why I'm looking forward to training camp when you can have games against other teams, maybe have inter-squad scrimmages, just so you can see where you rank. Because I always tell everybody during training camp you're going against the same people all the time. You kind of know each other's moves. You know what you're going to do. So it's always good lining up against somebody else with another jersey. So that's when training camp happens. That's when I'll get a little more excited. This time is kind of like, the calm before the storm,
exactly.
In my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's get into it. I mean, it's kind of a loose connection I'm making, but I'm trying to draw a little comparison here with Caitlin Clark and Caleb Williams. Obviously, two highly touted college players coming over that had a ton of appeal media-wise, ton of attention, player of the year, Heisman Trophy winner, all this NIL deal money. They come over, they're no stranger to the spotlight. Now Caleb Williams comes here and they get Hard Knocks, and people are comparing them to the Lions, when they got it, but the Lions were on a come up, where the Bears, people are kind of assuming the come up is going to come based off of the roster they have, and not completely. I mean, it's somewhat of a similar team from last year, but obviously much different on offense. So I guess that's the question I want to start out with. I know it's, like I said, it's kind of a silly question, but the bullseye, the target that's on Caitlin Clark's back, do you think that Caleb has a similar one, not just in the NFL getting Hard Knocks and, obviously the other teams always wanting to take the quarterback out of, the Packers and Lions. That I don't think they care who the quarterback is. They're trying to take the Bears quarterback out. But even on, with the own team, like Caleb comes to practice and I hear, on the day that he had a rough day, like a week and a half ago, the defense was chirping hard.
Was they?
He talked about when they faced off against Blaine Gabbert that they wanted to show him something. Little welcome to the big leagues moment. So do you think there's a little bit of that element here with Caleb? Like, all right, you're the big dog, but we're going to show you something different here.
Oh, 100%. I kind of feel like over this last year in like sports in general, it's kind of like the year of the phenom. Like if you look in the NBA, you had Victor Wembanyama. It was, can he do all those things he was doing over there in France? Can he, he's skinny. Can he do that against grown men? And then we saw him block Giannis, block Jokic. And then Jokic said, you're not going to do that again, brother. And then he blocked him again, getting on an all rookie team. He surpassed that or, met those expectations. You got Connor Bedard in the NHL. He's been scouted since he was 10, 12 years old. He came in, exceeded expectations with exactly what they thought he was. Caitlin Clark, we're seeing the same thing right now. She's having a little rough transition into it. And I think that's kind of more because the WNBA doesn't really have a break. Like, she was playing in the tournament one week and then she gets drafted in his camp. And now they're throwing up in a steel cage match against a team that was in the WNBA finals last year. So you got that. I think Caleb has a similar thing. I think that Caitlin is probably a little bit tougher because she's got a league on her back. With Caleb, he's got a franchise on the back. Like we know as being Bears fans, a lot of people outside of Chicago don't look at the Bears as favorably as we do. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in Los Angeles for 10 years. Every time I tell them I was a Bears fan, they're like, "Why are you that?" Like they look at me like I'm a Vietnam vet or something. Like I survived stuff. So I think he has the trying to break the quarterback curse, trying to bring like a golden era back. The Bears ain't really had that since the 80s. And so I do think there's pressure, not the same as her, but I think the difference between the two is, at least from what I've seen from Caleb, from being around him the last month of facility, it don't look like it fazed him. Now it might change when you like Corey said, you get to training camp and you got pads on, and they were barking last week. I feel like every other play, Jaquan and Jalen, they was dancing to whatever Migos or 2 Chainz song was playing at practice. So they're going to be doing that, but I don't feel like it's going to phase him. And I don't know if it phases Caitlin or not. She hasn't really said anything, but I do think there is some pressure. And I think once the NFL starts and all the eyes are going to be on him, and it's going to turn up a little bit. And I'm interested to see how he's going to respond to that. I think he'll be good with it because being in LA during the time he was at USC, a lot of people don't know USC is their pro team. Like the Trojans are LA's team. It's not the Rams. He would care about the Angels more than the Chargers, so it's definitely not the Chargers. So you can see like he handled that pretty well, and I think last year wasn't their best year. I think he handled that type of adversity. So I think it's the same thing. Long story short, but I think he's going to handle it pretty well.
So I think when it comes down to the comparisons between Caitlin Clark and Caleb Williams is in a way better situation than Caitlin Clark. She was on the worst team in the league, right? They were the worst team for a reason. They still have a lot of pieces to the puzzle they have to make, position-wise, player-wise, to get where they are. And she's been the only player in the WNBA that has had a target on their back. Think about all the great players. Taurasi and Maya Moore was arguably one of the greatest players ever played. I don't think anybody gave her the same attention that they gave Caitlin Clark. And I do think it's because people are salty that for so long, nobody has been paying attention to the women's game like they are now. And it's all because of her. And even Diana Taurasi, one of the GOATs of the WNBA, she sounded like she was hating a little bit, And if you look at Clark's stats, her stats are pretty good for her first year being in the league. But everyone's expecting her to do 40 points a game.
Right.
Now, on the other side, Caleb Williams, he has arguably one of the best wide receiver trios in the game. He has a top 10 defense. He has a revamped offensive line. He has Swift, Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert in the backfield. He has Gerald Everett. He has Cole Kmet. So he has the best situation I think a rookie quarterback has ever come into in the history of the NFL. So I think when you're talking about everything aligning and to him playing well, and think about the bar for quarterback position, stats and what numbers you do, it's been pretty low. So I think if he goes above that, it's going to be a great thing. So obviously he's been in pressure situations. He's handled that well. I think there's going to be some of a learning curve. I'm just hoping that early on in the situation, like, yes, he can air it out. He can do this. He has talented weapons. But let's start first as a run-first team. Let's work the play action. Let's get him confident with some of the dink and dunk throws, and then let's open up stuff. Because I think the key for any quarterback is to get his confidence right away. And if they can, in that first game, really, okay, let's rely on the run game. Let's do some play actions. Let's open it up. Then I think he'll be successful. I think that first game, usually for a lot of younger guys, is very critical to their success, how they do. He doesn't have to light it up, but I think if you just have a great game plan, you play great defense, and then all of a sudden open up things, I think you're setting him up for success. So people will say, oh, yeah, I want him to throw for 400 yards and all that. Let's pump the brakes right now, right? Let's just get him confident. Let's get him set. Let's get the protection right. And I think the one great thing about Shane Waldron's principles, a lot of two tight end sets, a lot of chip help, which helps the offensive line and allows an extra second for the line and the quarterback.
Yep.
I'm gonna go even, not to cut you off, Brad. I just want to go even further a little bit. I was talking about this with my homie JR Bang, who we just saw in the chat, about great situations. I'm gonna go even further. I think this is the best situation for a rookie since Magic Johnson when he came into the Lakers. Like, if you think about it, I was thinking about, like, I'm trying to think, like, who's any rookie, any sport came into a better situation. Magic came in, he had Kareem, Norm Nixon, just that team, and they won a championship that year. Now, I'm not saying the Bears gonna win a championship, but that's probably the only rookie situation I can think even comes close to what Caleb is in right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're not finding one in the NFL that's even close to comparable. So I honestly think that's probably the best, although, we end up like the Magic Johnson Lakers.
Oh, I'm going to be very excited.
And I will be the most toxic person on the timeline you have ever met in your entire life. You think I'm chanting Green Bay sucks now. Wait till they start actually beating them on a regular basis. Real quick, want to give a shout out over to Whirly Ball here, another person that just joined us here at CHGO Sports. Whirly Ball is a combination of basketball, lacrosse, and hockey while being played in bumper cars. So me and Woot are going to have to get out there, and I'm going to have to show them up here. It's the most fun you can have going 4 miles per hour. Our Bucktown location has 3 Whirly Ball courts, 12 bowling lanes with lane-side service, so you don't have to run out and get your own drinks. They'll bring them to you. A 2-story laser tag arena, private event spaces, and 4,500 square feet of fun. So make sure you're hitting them up for all your events. 32 craft beer taps, craft cocktails, and upscale bar food. Booking with Whirly Ball is as easy as an intentional walk. Just go to whirlyball.com/CHGO and book now and purchase an hour of Whirly Ball and get 30 minutes of bowling free. You must book with a private event to redeem. So once again, book now at whirlyball.com/CHGO. And finally, last thing I want to remind people is now is as good a time as ever to become a diehard at CHGO Sports. If you hit up allchgo.com/diehard, you get a free shirt right out the gate. We got some really cool new options and new designs coming out. Obviously, our franchise collection with the new #1 pick in the house. Got some really great designs. Was wearing my the Chicago collection we put out this spring. I was wearing it the other day and was getting a bunch of compliments. So you can get those shirts for free and then discount on any future shirt after you get your first shirt for free. And then exclusive content like Adam Hoke's newsletter, which you're going to want to get on board. We're 5 weeks away from training camp, and Adam Hoke starts putting out, a ton of newsletters that are exclusive only to you there for, all you diehards. We have a Discord channel and a lot of different advantages when you become a diehard here, and also discounts on our events. We have tailgates coming up for every home game. Scott, I better see you coming out for one of our tailgates. I know you're always at the home game, so you're cordially invited to come over to our tailgates, which isn't too far from the stadium and always a great time.
Yeah, I'll be at the stadium super early because for some reason my brother likes getting there like 3 hours before. Like, we be in the media room just waiting. So yeah, I'll definitely come over there.
Yeah, we'll get you guys to a tailgate for one of them.
Yeah,
so you
I
ain't
definitely
gonna
gotta
sit
get
there
there.
and wait with your hands folded. Although, go to the game early, when nobody's in there and just the players are warming up on the field. I think that is one of the secrets about going to football games, because, like, people go to other games early, basketball, watch Steph Curry warm up, or baseball for batting practice, and not too many football fans go in the stadium early because everybody just wants to drink till the final buzzer. But it is like a nice little peaceful time, and you get to watch players do their work. So Scott, speaking of doing work, let's get back into this talk. I want to ask you about Hard Knocks eventually, but I did want to get back into some minicamp talk. Tomorrow, you're going to be back out at Halas Hall. You get 3 straight days. You guys, as far as your media availability, it's been kind of sporadic in terms of rookie camp and then OTAs. You're getting a day here, a day there. You're not really getting a consistent look at the team. And also, the team itself hasn't had a consistent, lineup out there, roster out there. Now we're getting full roster because it's mandatory minicamp. And we're going to get 3 straight days of, eyes on the Bears outside of the team. So what are your expectations now? Obviously everybody wants to talk about, is Caleb Williams ready to take that next step? I know, a week and a half ago he struggled. Then, the last time you guys were there, he played well, but 4 of 5 of the starting DBs weren't there, with the exception of Tyreek Stevenson. So now we get, the full, defensive roster out there. Montez Sweat is back. Saw him taking some pictures with the Bears social media team and Jalen Johnson. So now you get an opportunity to get a healthier understanding of what this might look like, right?
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm looking forward to, I mean, obviously, Caleb, I think I want to see like a 3-day sample size, if you want to call it, like of course it's June, like it's very early, but I want to get like a 3-day sample size against him against a full healthy defense, because when he had the bad practice, he had a couple wide receivers. Like, he's really only throwing to DJ, and I think Dante Pettis was out there. Like, Keenan Allen wasn't there. Rome didn't practice. Cole Kmet was there, but I don't think he did too much. And then last week when he had the good practice, half of the secondary is out. So I want to see what it's like with everybody there, see what that's looking like. I also want to see how the defense looks, the defensive line. I feel like the defensive line is probably my number one concern, because I want to see what it's going to be like with just Tez out there. Like, is Gervon Dexter going to take that leap? I feel like that's what Ryan Poles is banking on. He didn't even look in the 3-tech direction doing free agency. So I feel like it's going to be a lot on him. We've heard good things from Flus about, he's lost weight. We're expecting good things from him. He's been at a couple of the OTAs. I haven't seen him practice, but he's been there. So I want to see what he looks like out there as well. So I think I'm just more interested in seeing the team together as a whole. I think it's going to be the first time this offseason, at least since the media's been around, that you're going to have the full squad and how everybody's going to be looking. So one thing I will say about when Caleb struggled was, I love the communication he had with Shane Waldron. It was one of those things where he was always going back, like, okay, what did I mess up here? What did I mess up there? And you even saw like some of the vets, like there was one part I remember where DJ would tell him, oh, you should do this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of communication. So I want to see that as well. And I'm just interested to see, like, what's the full vibe of the team after these 3 practices, because this is kind of like the first and kind of last look we're going to get at them and full till training camp. So obviously all eyes on Caleb. That's all my Twitter mentions are going to be. Like, if you tweet anything about Caleb, it's when I said he had a bad practice, oh my God, y'all should have saw my mentions. Like, people were panicking. I'm like, let's chill out here. So I think it's going to be a lot.
Did you panic at all? Like,
no.
We're all excited for this. And just from, like, I know you cover the team, but you also have been a fan of the team.
Yeah.
So was there any part of you, just in one singular practice, and nobody's going to judge you, was there any kind of like worry, like, shoot, did I overshoot my skis on the hype I have for this guy?
There's two-part answer to that question. One, I'm at the part right now with Bears fans. What I've told them is, don't be afraid to love, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You shoot your shot. If it mess up, it mess up. I'm like, honestly, I'm 35 years old. Can it really get any worse than what I've seen majority of my life? I don't think so. So I'm not really worried about that. I was actually kind of excited, and this is why. I loved seeing the defense, like, they were like moving, like the secondary was moving, and it kind of felt like, and especially when Kevin Byers said in the press conference, like, we're trying to make him better. It didn't feel like a situation where it was like, yeah, we dominated him, and it was just kind of like a defense versus offense thing. I feel like they went into it like, we're going to show this dude that you got to beat us, and if you can't beat us, you ain't going to be able to beat everybody else. We think we're the best defense in the league. So I kind of took it as, oh, well, this is the school of hard knocks. No pun intended, obviously. But I feel like if he gets through this, he's going to be good to go because I get to see the best defense in football every week. So I kind of, maybe on a sadistic level, was kind of excited. I was like, yeah, this is what Caleb needs. You're welcome to the NFL moment in practice. So there was no fear. Now, ask me mid-October if he's struggling, then PTSD might flare up a little bit. But in the summer, no, I was just like, okay, the secondary looks great. That's really all I took from that practice.
Yeah, I think the one great thing about Caleb going against arguably one of the best secondary in the league, and then the secondary going against one of the best wide receiver cores. So iron sharpens iron. I really do believe they're both going to have great reps against each other from now until training camp. The inter squad scrimmages that they do against each other. I think they're really going to have some tough sledding, and I think it's going to make Caleb work and make him that much better. So you talked about something on the defensive line. Gervon Dexter hasn't been out there much. That's been my main concern because I've seen the flash and I see the potential, and it's something I've talked about a lot with Braggs and company. Gervon Dexter has all the talent in the world, the size, the strength, the speed. The one area, or two areas rather, is the get off and the pad level. Those are the two things that when I watch, I'm just, it's tough to watch sometimes because he's still so productive. Even despite getting off last, he's one of the last people off the ball and with high pad level. So I thought Eric Washington, who coached me in college in my first year for the Bears, I thought this is a great fit for him to come to this team. And yes, his title is the defensive coordinator, but he's really going to be the defensive line coach, right? Eberflus, this is his show. He's going to call the plays. So I'm just hoping that Gervon Dexter working with Eric Washington, he's the old school type of coach. He gets after him, really focuses on that pad level and that get off, because that's something that we did every time we'd watch film, right, in 2010, and something Rod Marinelli continued to do. We'd watch film, and then they would just slow it down from when the ball was snapped, and they call out who was last every time. And really what that did is it lit a fire up under your ass. You didn't want to be the last person off. So everybody was competing for who can get off the fastest. And I think that's something that you do with enough reps. Sometimes that can be ingrained in you. And maybe you weren't a get off guy your whole life, but that's something that you could maybe learn. So that's what I'm hoping with Eric Washington, who really gets out of him, because like you said, opposite Sweat, who is that dominant pass rusher, right? We thought that would be Walker coming inside and maybe being a presence in there. We didn't see as much with him on the inside. Hopefully this year, Dom Rob or somebody else will step up opposite him. But that's what I was kind of worried about. Like, I'm looking at the areas like linebacking core is really good. Secondary is one of the best in the league. Defensive line, right? Montez Sweat, and then who else? It's really easy to double team one person, right? But that's why I was hoping that they have somebody. So hopefully Gervon Dexter can be that guy. Hopefully Zach Pickens, makes a big step this year. And some of those young guys that we didn't have expectations. And Dom Rob, this is a make or break for him. If he does not show what he's worth, he will be cut from the team. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and I also feel too like maybe Ryan Poles makes a late off-season addition. You got Grady Jarrett's out there, you got Calais Campbell's out there. When he had Yannick Ngakoue last off-season, I do know in his with Poles press conference, you got kind of take clues out of what he's saying. Like Poles is amazing at saying stuff, but not really saying anything. So you can pull things, and it kind of feels like he floated the idea of maybe getting a vet. D tackle in there. I think that would be a great addition because I'm concerned about both lines more with the offensive line. I'm more concerned about Tevin Jenkins being healthy. Like if he's healthy, I think they'll be good to go. Unlike most of the Bears fans, I'm not really worried about Nate Davis. I think that when he actually plays, he'll be fine. But the defensive line, you win in the trenches. Like we seen last year. I know we all love Patrick Mahomes. That D-line and that secondary are the reason they are back-to-back champions. Mm-hmm. So your secondary is only as good if they can get to the quarterback. Like that's why secondary came on the second half of the season, because Tez was having a party and just sacking dudes. So that's like, if I have any concern, that's my number one. So I'm hoping that maybe Gervon does make that leap.
Well, Jeremy Fowler reportedly was saying that that they are going to be looking, to add an edge, which is to no surprise. This is what the Bears did last year, adding Yannick Ngakoue a week into training camp. So a late roster addition. My guy Gary Ross was sharing a list with me last week of free agents available after June 1st. And so now we're here. Like you mentioned, Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue still out there, Emmanuel Agba. You have Carl Lawson and Marcus Golden, some different guys that are edge or D tackle there. Any of those names stand out to you? And if it does end up being Yannick Ngakoue, Scott, I'll start with you, and then I'll move over to you, Corey. Are you comfortable with Yannick coming back just because of his familiarity, or did he not do enough last year for you want to bring him back on a cheaper, maybe even a cheaper deal than he did last year?
I mean, I think he was solid. I mean, I think he did what he was supposed to come and do. I think towards the end of the season, he really turned on, and he actually played much better after they got Tez. I feel like they really fed off each other a little bit more towards the end of the season. So I'll be fine with it. I think even though he's a vet, I really would like Calais Campbell. I mean, that's the name that like sticks out to me more than anything. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it if Ngakoue came back. I think that'd be cool. I just would rather have that than what you have right now. I don't want to get to the point where it's week 4, week 5. We're like, man, Tez keeps seeing all these double teams, and there's no pressure. Like you need to get to, the quarterback. So that I'll be fine with it. But
as much as we're talking about dialing back expectations, which I totally understand, because someone like me can get way ahead of myself on what I want the Bears to accomplish. At the same time, it is win now mode. Like you're not putting the cap on. Like, yeah, dial your expectations back as a fan. But at the same time, don't put a cap on what your possibilities are, right?
I know this is the NBA and it's a different thing, but did anybody think the Oklahoma City Thunder were going to be the number 1 seed this year? They didn't even make the play-in last year. So it's like you definitely don't want to put a cap on it. I just want them to cover as many holes as you can. You're not going to get everything done. It's not going to be a complete roster by training camp, but if he's out there, and I'm at the first time I can say I trust Ryan Poles, which I never really said as a Bears fan that you trust the general manager. I trust Ryan Poles, and I know that whatever he feels like is the right move to go, whoever he goes on edge, I'm fine with it. But Calais Campbell would make me excited. Like, okay, you got a vet, 6.5 sacks last year, gives Tez a running mate, and actually will make the game easier for Gervon. Now you got 2 vets working with you, so that's what I'll be with.
So I like the idea of adding Calais Campbell, very durable player. Obviously, he's older, and I don't think long-term plans are going to be for the Bears. But to get you through this season, a guy that's productive inside, that's tall. So when you look at developing Gervon Dexter, a guy that's 6'6" as well, that has a lot of length, he shows you how to be a pro, how to play with great pad level, right? How to play with great get-off, how to use your hands. And watching Calais Campbell over the years, he's a technician with that. He uses extremely well, his motor, his get off. And I think that's somebody Gervon Dexter can really learn from. And there is not pressure for him to be, you have to be the starter. Calais Campbell come in and be the 3 technique day one, right? He is that talented. He is productive. And imagine him and Gervon Dexter in there sometimes potentially on pass rush situations if he takes the next step. You got Walker that you can slide inside as well. It gives you flexibility. And then going to the edge, I wouldn't mind Yannick if he is 100% healthy, on a better deal than last year. We can't pay him what we paid him last year. But when I look at Emmanuel Agba as well, he's somebody that interests me because he's very productive. It kind of concerns me a little bit after he got paid a little bit. We saw a little slight decline in his play, but I think he does have the talent. I think a guy, Carl Lawson, is somebody they should take a look at as well. So there's a bunch of different options they could bring in to get them through this year. I love the idea about potentially trading for Hendrickson from the Bengals. They were talking about that. Oh man, I think he's one of the more underrated guys, and it's crazy to say that he's underrated. But when you talk about the top pass rushers, very seldom does his name come up. Yeah. But he's a guy that's averaged 14.5 sacks probably the past 3 to 5 years. Very productive, not only with the sacks but the pressures, the hits on the QB. Who knows? Poles likes to make some moves. He did that last year with Montez Sweat.
Yep.
Who knows? He could maybe make that work if it made sense. I think Hendrickson is young enough where he still is productive, and he's probably going to have another good 3 to 5 years left, like playing at in his prime. So I wouldn't mind that as well if it made sense.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly where I was going to take it. I mean, last 2 years, Ryan Poles traded for Chase Claypool at the trade deadline, traded for Montez Sweat. And so he's shown, to be aggressive in that spot. Now you have a team like last year, he traded for Montez Sweat. Like 2 years ago, it was to help your quarterback develop, see what you can get out of Justin Fields. Last year, it was to put a little bit of, juice on that defense, help Jalen Johnson out, help Gervon Dexter out, and so you run into that situation this year. It's because you're trying to make a playoff push. Maybe the trade does come earlier than the trade deadline this year.
Now, I don't know if this was sourced by anybody, but I saw it on Bleacher Report, so I guess we got to take it with a grain of salt. But I saw something like a Matthew Judon, that trade, like with the Patriots. Like that the Patriots ain't going nowhere. Like that would be a good trade for me. I would be excited about that as well.
Right. Well, and you got to think that teams like Scottish Bear brought that up as well in the chat. And you got to think that with the Bears having 2 second-round picks next year, one of them being the Carolina Panthers second-round pick, which may end up being the 33rd pick in the draft.
How funny is it that trade isn't complete yet? Like, right? It's super hilarious. Like, if Caleb meets to where we hope he meets, that's gonna be probably up there with the Herschel Walker trade that basically gifted the Cowboys a dynasty. Like, it was an amazing trade.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I call it the Halas Hall. The Halas Hall. I gotta make it as corny as humanly possible.
So Matthew Judon, I'm all for that. He's a talented pass rusher. He's got great length, and you look at him and Montez Sweat being the bookends. That's a lot for an opposing offensive tackles to have to handle. I have faith in Poles that he's going to make a big splash.
Me too.
Because at the end of the day, we can say that, hey, the Bears aren't expected to win the Super Bowl. Most people would say that. But you have to be in the win now mode.
Yep.
You do. Because you never know at any given opportunity, any year, you can make a run. Look what Detroit. I don't think anybody had the expectation for Detroit to almost make the Super Bowl.
Like a play away from making the Super Bowl.
So I think if people thought they'd be improved and maybe be a playoff team, but they should have been in that Super Bowl game. So the Bears now have to stack themselves for this season. And if everything goes well with the situation with Caleb and he flourishes like everyone is hoping and the defense continues, the one area, like we talked about, that the concern is the defensive line. And people say, yeah, we got a great secondary. We got a great linebacking core. But it's all about rush and cover. And if you don't have a great rush, the back half gets left out to dry. Because like I said earlier, if you slide the protection to Montez Sweat, all of a sudden, that's a lot easier to double him, keep him. And if you don't have anybody that could really win those one-on-one rushes, all of a sudden that quarterback's back there, making a sandwich, having a good time, completing deep bombs to receivers. So I have faith in him that he's going to add one of these splash players, a Pro Bowl type, a double-digit sack guy this year to really complete that. And then hopefully the following year, they can address that kind of final piece of the puzzle on the defensive line.
Yep. So Andre Bryan here in the chat saying, I'm ready for hard knocks. I don't think JJ and DJ will be cornerback 1 and wide receiver 1 automatically like they did last year. I would tend to disagree with you, Andre, but I think ultimately, and then he says, I think Allen and Stevenson are coming for that spot. Hey, like Corey said earlier, iron sharpens iron, and I do think they are wide receiver 1 and quarterback 1, but at the end of the day, the wide receiver versus DB battles every year are probably my favorite part and most people's favorite part of camp, especially nowadays because they don't hit as much as they used to. So that's probably the one, session that you can get a real gauge of what you see in actual gameplay, but at the same time, Scott, I know you're, a big fan of different television programming. Obviously, you talk about different shows you like, and now the Bears get Hard Knocks on HBO. So we're all gonna have our mugs on the HBO screens. I'm excited to see the HBO crew out there.
I'm hyped, man. I feel like all my favorite shows been on HBO. Like, and I was thinking about the other day, like I could quote you The Wire like I wrote it. Like that's how many times I've watched that show. But Hard Knocks, man, and like you said, from a selfish perspective, maybe I'm thinking like a quick cameo. Maybe they catch me by the vending machine or something. I don't know. But it'll be fun to see the cameras there. And Bragg, from last year, training camp was a zoo last year. This is going to be that times 50. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be turned up, and I think that even though I'll be there, I know you'll be there. It'll be fun to see. Oh, I remember what day this was. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I remember this happened there. Or okay, that's what that conversation is back about. Because sometimes we'll be in the bleachers and like, oh, I wonder what's going on over there. We'll see because it'll be mic'd up. Oh, that's what that conversation is about.
Yep.
One thing I'm wondering is I've watched pretty much every Hard Knocks. I actually went back to rewatch the Ravens one, the first one, since it got announced. And you know how they have stories about, that one player who might or might not make the team. What's that storyline going to be? And I think just really the personalities. I said this on my show. I feel like this is going to be an introduction of the Bears to, I guess, like the younger generation or, people who aren't Bears fans, because we know about these players, but the rest of the world does. It's kind of like a comparison to the Knicks a little bit. Like I got a lot of New York friends. They love the Knicks, but it's like, if you're not a Knicks fan, you don't know about these certain guys. And I feel like their playoff run put that on a big stage. And I think it's going to be the same thing for the Bears. Everybody, talked about Flu since he got the new haircut. What's that going to be like? Him. I think DJ is going to be, and his kid is probably going to be the best part of the show, because I think DJ probably the funniest dude on the team. I think from the schedule release video, that was hilarious. I think that'd be great. And I think it'll just be good to see. Of course, obviously, Caleb's going to be star of it, to see Rome and everything. I think it's just going to be cool taking the media hat off as a fan to see my favorite team be, look, every week. It's going to be must-watch TV. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have any idea who you think might be like the player nobody's talking about that could become like a star from this show? I mean, some different names, Tevin Jenkins or Kyler Gordon.
Jenkins, probably Tevin Jenkins. I think Tevin Jenkins is an underrated one. I'm trying to think who else will probably be an underrated one. I think there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of personality on this Bears team. I think all of them are going to shine, but I think it's going to be cool to see maybe even more Ryan Poles. I know he's not on the field, but more Ryan Poles. You're definitely going to get Kevin Warren's day-to-day. And I think it'll be cool, too, because the Bears are usually so closed off. It's like Fort Knox over there. They don't show anything. So for them to actually put that out there, it's going to be extremely fun. And we talk about waiting for the season. For Bears fans, it's going to be, season going to start in August, basically. You know what I'm saying, with the show. So I'm incredibly excited about it. I kind of had a feeling they were going to be the team, because you look at the other options. I'm like Saints, and the Giants got picked for the offseason one. So I knew it wasn't going to be the Giants. I was like, it has to be the Bears. Like, I don't want to see Derek Carr's day-to-day. No disrespect to Derek Carr, but it's like, I want to see something I want to watch. So I think it's going to be exciting, and I honestly can't wait. I'm not going to look forward to the traffic getting to and from Halas Hall, but I'm looking forward to camp for sure.
I think a good storyline will probably be Jervon Dexter.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of buzz. They're probably going to talk about him a lot. And, they're going to show sometimes that, every year there's always that guy, right, that everyone has high expectations for, and just kind of seeing his progress. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I think another guy.
And your boy Eric Washington. Like, to me, exactly. Last year's Hard Knocks with the Lions, showing the assistant coaches was one of my favorite things about the Lions Hard Knocks. So I think guys like Richard Hightower and Eric Washington have a chance to really shine through in this.
Yep, and maybe Dominique Robinson, right? They always have a storyline of a guy that's kind of on the bubble, and I think he fits that mold, and I hope he takes the next step, right? I root for him. I think he's a talented individual, and sometimes when your back's against the wall, that's when you have your best season. That was my case going into my third year. I had a pretty decent rookie year. Second year I was hurt the whole year, and met with Lovey, and he was like, "Hey, you got to show this year, or else you're gone," essentially. So I was like, "Shoot." That's sometimes when your back's against the wall, you buck up and you got to show. So that's what I'm rooting for, and I'm hoping that he has his best season. He really takes that next step, and sometimes that's what you need. You need that motivation to get you going, and I think he has all the talent, but it's now about having that show on the field.
B-Floaf in the chat reminding everybody to hit the like button, saying good show,
shout
boys.
Homie B-Floaf.
The man. Yep. A lot of people here tuned in for Scott here from 79th and Halas and Barber's Chair Network. They do a great job. Him and Joe are killing it on the Bears beat and doing a lot of other things outside of even Chicago sports, but national sports. So make sure you're hitting them up. on Twitter and everything else. I'll let you get those correct plugs in here at the end, but I got a couple more questions here for you. And Bruja in the chat earlier was saying, Caleb definitely is, up in the ante by egging on the Green Bay Sucks chance, which is, he said, killed me last year that our QB hooked up with Green Bay's quarterback with tickets for his family, and Jordan Love should have left that burden on Love. He's not Bruja not showing any love for Jordan Love, but to the Green Bay Sucks chant, because I seem to be pissing everyone off after I've had like 4 whiskey and Cokes in the bleachers, and my dumbass starts chanting Green Bay Sucks, because anytime I either see a Packer fan or a Bears fan, it just comes out of me. And so I'm irritating Bears fans. But then the next day, Caleb Williams is at Wrigley. There's a rain delay, so he's hitting up Wrigleyville. He stops at Old Crow. Everybody starts chanting Green Bay Sucks at him. It's not like he started it. Right. And then Caleb kind of is conducting the choir as they sing it. So, Scott, are you approving of setting chants with Caleb, or should he be toning it down before he's got to square off against our hated rivals?
I believe in talking about your rival forever. Like, I don't care what the score is. Like, yeah, you might have knocked me out. Well, what did Smokey say on Friday? He said, yeah. He said, when Debo gone, I'll be talking again. Like that's pretty much what it is with the Packers. So it's like I'm with it. Like you said, it's not like Caleb was going up there saying Green Bay sucks. He was just, enjoying Chicago. I like how he's kind of initiated himself in the city, him and Rome, and Angel Reese too. Like Angel Reese, I feel like it's like a good time for young talent in the city of Chicago. Everybody going out there kicking it, but I love it. Now, like you said, still got to beat them, but win or loss, Packers gonna feel the same way about the Bears. Bears gonna feel the same way about the Packers. So I'm with it forever. I don't know any Laker. I know Laker fans who damn near got Mavericks jerseys on the next 2 weeks because they hate the Celtics. Like, right. So to me, it's kind of like the same thing. So it was cool to see that, and as well as the MVP chance he got up in the bar as well. So it was cool to see.
Yeah, Corey, are you approving of my behavior in the Wrigley Field bleachers with my Green Bay Sucks chant, or do I need to grow up and start being mature in my life?
I think you need to grow up until the Bears show that they can beat the Packers, which I think this is the year. And I called that.
You could have helped. You played for the Bears, although when you played for the Bears, you guys beat them a little more, right?
Exactly, and they had some respect. Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't. I owned Chicago when we were there, and Urlacher and company and Peanut Tillman. He had respect for our defense. He got very disrespectful towards the end of his tenure in Green Bay.
By the way, Corey, I was going to tell you this because the 2010 NFC North Championship game, one of my favorite moments as a Bears fan. I know it was the Vikings, but it was still Brett Favre. So, like, as a Bears fan, I just loved when y'all got Favre out of there and Devin running into the end zone. That was a peak moment as a Bears fan.
I know, man. I still get free drinks in Chicago for that. So, Brett Favre, his Wranglers and all, his copper fit, he terrorized Bears fans and Bears for years. So, I never want anyone to get hurt, but how dope was that to get my first sack against arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever played?
And then the highlight comes out from one of the greatest Bears games of my lifetime, and that was the Bears at Tennessee, when the fans literally bled the town dry of light beer. I can remember the reports coming out that they ran out of beer at the bars in Nashville, Tennessee, because Bears fans took it over. And then you guys, Corey, proceeded to just beat the brakes off the Titans. Yeah. Peanut Tillman, I think, had 4 forced fumbles in that game. Maybe, his, just the encompassing of his career was in that moment.
Urlacher pick 6.
Yeah, Urlacher had a pick 6. Jay Cutler had a couple nice touchdown throws. And
touchdown.
Devin Hester also got tackled inside the 5 on a punt return.
Yeah.
And that's what leads me to your story, Corey, because at that time in my life, I was just rooting for Devin Hester to get touchdowns. Like, I wanted the Bears to win, but everything surrounded around Devin Hester's greatness. So then they blocked the punt, which initially pissed me off because it lost. They were punting out of their own end zone. So those are prime Hester touchdown moments. Block punt, and then Corey Wootton comes down with it, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling for a 6-yard return for a touchdown.
7, I think. I don't know.
7. Okay.
They're like, give me my extra yard.
Yeah. Well, and
I got in there, man. You were giving me a hard time, man. You give me a hard time, but I got in the end zone. I got a touchdown. I don't think you've had any touchdowns even in your high school football career.
I give you credit for getting the touchdown, but I'm just saying, like, the punter did get you down, so that gives me a little more confidence that I can cut you down as well.
No, you can't. The thing is,
I'm not betting on that.
I knew my surroundings. I knew where I was. I didn't have to go crazy with it. Now, if I was in the middle of the field, hey, I would have stiff armed. I would have spun off. I would have hit, the circle button, the whole bit, truck stick. But I knew I just had to get in. Sometimes you just got to get in there, right? Like it's in golf. Sometimes you just got to poke one out there. That's what I did with the touchdown. I got a touchdown. I got the ball in the basement. That's something you can't take away from me, Brad.
There you go. Well, no,
Brad, you brought up how they ran out of beer. If you talking about traveling, Bears fans are gonna travel this year.
Oh yeah,
Bears fans. Like I was telling one of my homies in Texas, I'm like, hey, I know the Texans good, but that's gonna be Soldier Field South on week 2. Chicago folks love Texas anyway. There's gonna be a lot of people out there.
You got plans to go to London,
Scott? Oh, I'm 100%. I'm gonna be there for a week. I'm 100% going.
Right. Well, we'll have to see you there. But yeah, we've got. Bears at Arizona. We know there's a ton of Bears fans already in Arizona. Yep. There's going to be a lot of people traveling to there. There's just like you said, a lot of good
Indianapolis.
2-3 hour drive. Yeah, it's going to be a complete takeover for Indianapolis week 3. So especially if the Bears beat CJ Stroud in the Texans week 2, which is another game which I think a lot of Bears fans are going to attend. So we're rounding third here to wrap up CHGO Bears After Dark. A few different comments in the chat. Robert Lee brought up an interesting stat earlier, saying Cole Kmet needs 697 receiving yards to move into 20th Bears all-time receiving spot. That's good for Cole, but time to start upping the ante. Making that list a little harder to chip through. Bruja had a question for you, Scott. Any expectation for you that Nate Davis will be on the field here these next 3 days?
I haven't been told anything, but honestly, be shocked if he's not there. From the way Flus has been saying that everybody has been in the building at some point during the offseason, so I expect him to be there. And now, if he's not there, then I would probably make a big deal about it because it's mandatory, but I'm expecting him to be on the field.
Corey, some different news came out during the week, and maybe this is something that can be saved for another show. Might end up becoming a longer conversation. But your thoughts on this idea of the NFL changing the way they do OTAs and minicamp and potentially just moving everything into July to where you'll have, an extended period of time off in April or May and June, and then everything kind of be bunched together before official training camp starts. Do you like the idea of everything together, or do you want it split apart like it's always been?
I want to split apart like it's always been, just because I feel like that is a grind. Now you're talking about we added another game. They're talking about adding potentially another game. So I just feel like it's a grind, and the main thing that people want is less time on the field. I know that's hard. But the thing is, I think keep training camp the way it is, keep the OTAs the way it is, because it gives guys the time to unwind before the grind of training camp in the season. So I like it exactly the way it is. I honestly think people will fire back if they try to do that, like get OTAs and then just go into an early training camp. Because even though this is, basically in your underwear now, it is a good time for you to get on the same page, especially a guy like Caleb Williams getting on the same page with the receiving core, the timing of routes, things of that nature, the secondary, really the linebacking core and secondary and all the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. This is a good opportunity for them to really go through stuff. It really doesn't affect them that much. It's more so the offense and defensive line. You can't really go full tilt without pads. But I like it the way it is. I think it should be that way because I think it gives people some time in the offseason to get together. Then you get a break before training camp where you can go on vacation, still train, get ready, have a mental break before the grind of training camp in the season.
Yeah, Mike's in the chat saying I'll be at the Arizona Cardinals game, and Mike, stay tuned for updates. But we'll probably be having an update where the CHGO Bears gang might be seeing you out in Arizona as well. So stay tuned for those announcements. Robert Lee in the chat saying 46 days till training camp, 59 days to the Hall of Fame game, 64 days to the premiere of Hard Knocks, and 97 days until week 1 against the Titans. Can you tell that we're excited? We're having countdowns. Get us through this summer and our godforsaken baseball teams that aren't worth talking about. But we gotta be miserable as they drag their way through the dog days of summer. JP in the chat saying that he was a ball boy when you were there.
All right, JP.
So maybe he's got some dirt on you. I'm always trying to get dirt. Woot. Scott, appreciate you joining us here tonight. First time joining us. I know me and you have been linking up here the last couple of years, and I've always really appreciated the work you guys are doing. The young grinders to the beat, trying to make our way in this. We all got to stick together. So, like I was telling people, make sure you hit 79th and Halas, and Barber's Chair Network on Twitter and YouTube. But why don't you give everybody the official plugs on where they can find you and what you guys are up to right now?
Well, you can follow me at Barber Chair Scott, as it says there, on all social media platforms. Right now, my main thing, of course, 79th and Halas. Me and my brother Flows. We host that podcast. This is our 10th season doing it. We started in 2015 with crappy computer mics, and then who knew that 6-7 years later we'd be covering the team. This is my 4th year covering the team, 3rd full year covering the team. I came in like middle 2021, so we got that. We'll be doing that, and then I got my show, I'm Not Gonna Hold You, which is basically I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. It's like madness. It's like it's like being in a barbershop, but like with informed takes. So it's just me and a couple of the homies. That's on hmbmediatv.com. That's every Monday and Friday. We go about 2.5 hours every day. We talk from football. We talk about all sports, honestly. Everything you want, a little culture talk. You know what I'm saying? So check that out. You can follow the Barber's Chair Network at Barber's Chair Net. As my man Alex said, go to the Patreon. The Barber Chair Network Patreon. We got a lot of content on there. We're going to be doing Hard Knocks recap shows on the Patreon. So we're doing that. Got a whole bunch of other dope content on there. And yeah, as Barber Chair Network, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff right now. We've got a whole bunch of podcasts. Dropped a new baseball podcast called The Hot Corner. So check that out. So yeah, man, we doing a whole bunch. So I appreciate being on here, man. I love the show. So definitely glad to join y'all too and talk some football.
We'll have to get you on here some more as we get through the summer, and when training camp gets going, we'll bring you on and get some more of your insights. We're actually going to be doing Hard Knocks recap shows, but so we'll be going up against each other. But hey, there's plenty of space to eat on the plate for all of us. And I'm always rooting for you guys, and we appreciate your support over here. So keep up the great work, and we'll continue to follow your coverage. And so other than that, I just want to tell everybody to hit that like button one more time. We appreciate everybody hanging out here tonight in the chat. Corey, any final thoughts before we kick this thing?
No, great show. Appreciate you coming on, Scott. It was a pleasure, and looking forward to these next couple months, and then the kind of build up before training camp.
Yes,
definitely,
sir.
Man. Definitely glad to be on, man. Good to talk to you.
I'm going to Florida here on Thursday, so I'll be out next week. So stay tuned for some scheduling.
Yeah, we won't miss you.
Yeah, you will. See, just from you saying that, now I know you definitely will. I'll be hitting up the links down there, continue to work on my golf game a little bit. But I appreciate you guys. I ain't gonna miss you either, because I'm gonna be down by the pool. I'm gonna be getting drunk, having some fun, drinking some whiskey, having a few stogies. What, Corey?
I feel bad for your wife, man. She got to deal with shit.
She's a lucky lady, Corey. She's a lucky lady.
Jenny, I don't know how she deal with you, man. I don't know how she do it. She's a saint, man. She's a saint.
It's called mind manipulation, Corey. That's how I hooked her. So, all right, guys, be easy. We'll see you soon. Once again, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit up 79th and Halas and Barber's Chair Network. and we will see you here real soon. Enjoy the rest of your week, and always bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.